Well, it's time to see what eUnited's going to do, I suppose. I mean, I feel like Screammmmm, he's been incredibly good all season long, but he still has 1 or 2 games of split where it just, like, there's, you know, he just has those games. And I feel like this is the one for eUnited. Was it that simple? Just Screammmmm wasn't able to bring what you expect from him?
A little bit, because it didn't seem like Nemesis was the Screammmmm kind of god that he prefers to play. I think he was almost forced to play it because moswal playing the Zhong.
Sure.
Nemesis is a great tank killer. I understand and respect that mindset, but you got to play towards your own identity, and I don't think that's what Screammmmm was doing in Game 1.
Screammmmm's definitely played a little bit of Nemesis during his career, but for whatever reason, whether it was the pick or the way he played it, certainly did not work out. But eUnited going to run it back in that first pick selection. They banned Naja again. Splyce banned Pele again. This will follow suit. This will be an Artio ban, though I think that Aror may have earned that going a different way. Played well enough on the Cerberus to not worry about it. So eUnited instead ban away what they first picked last game in the Athena.
Maybe they're going to go for the Freya first pick, but with that banned away. Baron, Samedi.
Yep, this is going to be Baron, I think, from eUnited. Splyce don't play as much Baron, though, and I wonder if eUnited might try and call them on that. Because eUnited's played it a lot. They will guarantee it. This is likely going to PBM, though Benji has played it as well. And we're starting to see a couple mid laners pick up Baron here and there. Pretty Prime did it. Ven played it for SSG as well, and Splyce goes straight to the Mercury.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And
no, I love it.
Drafting it very early, I like this because Cyno had a fantastic game, and it wasn't your hyper carry game where he went for a triple crit or anything like that. This was a conservative build, going for health in the Guardian Mail and Frostbound Hammer, utility kind of slow. It was so difficult to lock him down against the double Hunter draft that eUnited got last game.
Splyce goes straight back to the Artio as well. If it's open, Aurora takes it very, very early, and that's what they do. Robin, the selection that will be going to Screammmmm in the jungle, giving him, after a tough game, I think that eUnited do a good job here of doubling down and saying, you're good, you're our dude, have a pick that you want early on, and just go dominate with it.
Oh, yeah. I think also Robin for eUnited is just more of a Scream-esque god to me than the Nemesis in particular. They don't even care about trying to counter match up the Zhong with the Nemesis. They just want to make sure that Screammmmm is going to be like making those early game plays with a blink.
No Opwash or anything like that for moswal. No Vulcan. He's played a lot of those 2 picks. Instead, he stays with that Zhong. Feels like Splyce just want to do what they did in the last game all over again. They won't get the chance to run Chang'e in the solo lane because that is banned by eUnited.
Well, Xing Chen is open, and knowing Divios, he's played that before in the past. That could be another double the trouble, especially if eUnited are going to go for another double Hunter draft. That Furious Roar is scary to look out for.
See what eUnited wants to ban here. It will be the Izanami away from CycloneSpin. I like that call. If they're not going to pick it early on, may as well ban what has been probably the most statistically popular duo lane so far for Splyce in this split. Kuzenbo locked in. That will be for Divios. This is kind of preemptive, I think, against eUnited to try and get ahead of this double Hunter and let CycloneSpin see the whole composition before he decides what he wants to play.
That's true, because eUnited have another pick outside of the Soul. They could have blocked in that Kuzenbo alongside of it. It's going to be difficult now for Soul, probably piloted by Baskin, to get off that damage on the Kuzenbo.
Aphrodite selected by eUnited. They see some healing coming out of Divios and go, we want that but more this time around with the Afro. Neith picked in order to try and maybe camp that lane a little bit more easily, but I imagine that'll be Afro solo here for for Benji rather.
Probably, honestly, and surprised to see the Neith as well for CycloneSpin. He's played it a little bit here, a little bit there alongside the Xbalanque, and I think the global pressure is where Divios is going to have to watch out for, whether it's the World Weaver out of Neith or the Sonic Booms from Cyno's Mercury.
eUnited go with a bit of a healer on their side. Is that enough to swing Game 2 in their favor to force a Game 3, or is Splyce going to 2-0 the undefeated defending champs?
I don't know, because that would be their first set loss this whole fall split. Their last loss before this one just now was against Luminosity in Week 1.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, Toli, yes or no, do we have a Game 3?
Yes, I think we're going to have a Game 3.
All right, let's get it over to the casters to find out. It's Splyce eUnited. Splyce looking to 2-0.
Let's see if they can find it here, Ryan. Thanks, Toli, as well. Splyce have a great game. Screen with a well-timed overhead kick will get him away from the root, though I don't know if that's exactly what he wanted to go with early on. It certainly gets him out of trouble.
No, that's the problem, though. Overhead kick for your clear. You know that Cyno's going to be all over Screammmmm inside of the jungle, possibly even looking to challenge him at the right mid heartbeats. Kind of just all depends, though. I'm expecting Baskin and Benji to step in a little bit more so here to try and help out Screammmmm with some of his early clear until he's able to get some of the more ideal abilities online.
Benji, though, kind of giving a bit of a look towards Divios, like, you like sustain, huh? How about I play Aphrodite? Bringing it out here for eUnited. They also have PolarBearMike on the Baron. So they do have a very strong squad, lots of sustain here, and not the worst control. They got AoE to kind of mitigate that some, but do they have enough tools on this team with really no warriors or guardians?
I think they can make it work because of the Aphrodite. If Benji is able to get this Afro to mid and late game stage,
right,
then Splyce are probably going to end
swing.
up struggling.
But no, I think you're right. If the Benji can make it here on Aphrodite. But yeah, look at the poll numbers. Splyce has pulled it back to almost parity up against eUnited. And chat, you're right. This is a huge deal. Splyce on the precipice of getting the set win.
That went from, what, I believe 74 and 26% the first time to 54 and 46 now, the second time.
Like a 20% or so swing in either direction. Huge coming out for Splyce, as they clearly have earned some fans after that big win in Game 1. Because to be honest with you, Taco, that was a convincing win. Like I said, it wasn't like one play went wrong and they won the game late, or like an early game snowball got out of control or something like that. That was Splyce just very heads up beating eUnited.
And eUnited are aware of it, which is why I think we see them breaking out the Aphrodite Baron combination. This is particularly nasty once it gets to its online stages. And Benji up against the Kuzenbo, I don't really see a way for Divios to effectively pressure him out of farming.
Yeah, it could be difficult. There's not really much you can do once she drops those doves down to really slow her down. So I don't know if this Kuzenbo is going to be quite enough, though inside the ultimate, Benji doesn't have the best way to try and get away from it, from this Kuzenbo ultimate, so that could probably be key for it if he can line it up perfectly. But already, Benji feeling very comfortable here in the laning phase.
And I like that from PandaCat, choosing to jump, use that dive bomb to get away from the unravel from CycloneSpin, not wanting to have his attack speed impacted by Cyclone.
Cyclone, though, finds a nice ability in onto PolarBearMike. First blood comes out for Splyce. This duo lane, in particular for Splyce, has really stepped their game up. Aror has always been really strong for them. CycloneSpin has always been good for this team as well, but their duo lane laning phase, I feel like, has really improved lately.
And PandaCat now forced to try and hold this down on his own accord. PolarBearMike, I just don't think he was expecting that much damage from the Spirit Arrow so early on.
No, not at all. What an impressive play to try and lock down PolarBearMike, and he used the sprint, and it still wasn't enough. One more time, man. Splyce has caused some problems for over here in the dual lane for eUnited. They're doing a great job so far establishing pressure. In fact, let's go back and take a look at that first blood one more time, see exactly how it happened. You were talking about how PandaCat was able to jump away, but it's PolarBearMike that they end up making the focus. It's the root, I think, that just sets up for the Spirit Arrow. No way to dodge.
And then the follow-up with that charge out of Aror. There's just no way for PolarBearMike to really try and escape. It took a second for it to even register. I'm watching it happen on the screen, Finch, but even I was just sitting there in disbelief that that was going to be yet another early dual lane kill for Splyce.
Aror now takes some return poke. Scream is very much nearby, but so is Cyno. They're going to meet in the jungle. Robin blinks. He picks CycloneSpin, who immediately backflips away. Aror stuck, but a good two-man stun. Locks down Scream in the root. Overhead kick gets him out, and they keep the duel lane alive for now, but PolarBearMike wants more. He finds Cyno on the back end.
And he makes up a little bit of redemption there for PolarBearMike for that
Nice
early
shot.
spill. That's going to help him out, keeping up to track with Aror and Cyclone. Also, was starting to fall a little bit behind there in the dual lane after that death, but now won't have to worry about things nearly as much. Plus, punishing Cyno for being a little bit too far up there off the counter initiation is exactly what eUnited need to make happen every single time.
And did Cyno have that Aegis available when he fell there as well? Maybe not realizing that he was in that much trouble, but either way, he ends up falling, but he's going to drop the Sonic Boom. Divios is making the rotation, and nowhere for Baskin to go. Gets caught out doing mid-harpies. Cyno and Divios lock him down.
I can't even tell if that was Divios just happening to be close by enough to collapse onto Baskin, but well played by Cyno. The Sonic Boom as well, so precise. The way he came up just behind Baskin so he could immediately turn around and look for the in-hand follow-up.
That was perfect from Cyno and Divios. And you're right, that one looked calculated because Cyno started charging up the Sonic Boom. He's like, yeah, I can lock him down for you, so Divios can make the rotation. Another great job coming in and cleaning up that kill on the Baskin, who like he was not expecting.
And Divios, in fact, I've been wanting to see whether or not he was actually in the area. I think we've also got a replay to actually keep track of his positioning during that moment. And it's just a random rotation from Divios.
It does look like that,
Wasn't even trying to collapse on the Baskin initially, I don't believe, but just managed to call it out for Cyno.
Yeah, the recognition puts down the cap on the ultimate just too strong. I thought that was going to be a big help for him in the fight against Aphrodite because she doesn't have a good way, doesn't have a jump or a dash to try and get away from it. But it's actually Baskin who gets caught out a little bit in the jungle and ends up taking a spill.
Afro with the immunity, though, off that ultimate,
That's true.
It's just going to be too difficult, I think, for Cyno to want to try and target him. The back off as well. The fact that Benji can create a little bit of space so that Cyno can't continuously proc the Hasten Katana. If he does elect to build for a Hasten again after the Golden Blade, then Cyno should most definitely stick to trying to just find picks in mid and duo.
To talk about the ability to create some space, it looks like Splyce aren't too worried about it. They don't really have a whole lot of beads. CycloneSpin has his, since he is dealing with PBM there in lane, but aside from that, they're not too worried. And they might be right. There's not a ton of control really on eUnited's side. We talked about this already. No Guardians, no Warriors. They're electing to go without that here.
Love this from Splyce also. moswal and Cyno, I don't even think they knew that PBM and Scream were looking to try and find them in that corridor, but they didn't take any chances. If a choke point isn't warded, they're not going to bother walking through it.
World Weaver committed. moswal in trouble in the middle lane, but he's tanking through all of it. It's Cyno who's actually in trouble. Scream with the overhead kick puts him down. Another nice win for eUnited in the middle lane to keep things 2-2.
Those are the return fire shots that eUnited have been waiting all game long for, and moswal, without that ultimate, not going to be able to keep eUnited from trying to push down this T1 tower. In fact, moswal not even willing to take the chance. He's just going to go ahead and start backing here, accepting the fate of his tower.
Now this is curious. I think Scream wants to be here for the red buff invade as Divios looks for the blue invade as well. I'm sorry, I mean speed buff invade from Scream, and he makes it there in time, and now he's on the way out. He takes the tower shots just to make sure he can get there, and Baskin's able to burn down the tier 1 as well. A much better early game presence from eUnited so far, I feel.
But this is the pressure that eUnited kept trying to make happen in game 1 that they still haven't come out clearly on top just yet in game 2, but most certainly a significantly better start for eUnited. And if they're able to keep this momentum going, that could pose a lot of problems for Splyce because Benji already starting to heavily bully out Divios over here.
He is starting to bully Divios indeed. Low HP having to back. He has teleport though, so he'll be back before too long, and Void Stone could certainly help him out a bit in the lane, so we'll see. That makes life a little bit easier here for the Turtle Man. But we turn towards middle lane, Scream is going to blink in on the backside. Prana onslaught for the slow, but Cyno had Aegis to allow him to reposition. They'll turn towards moswal instead, who has very little mana, not very many movement abilities, but the stun is good, and he makes his way out.
Great self-peel from moswal there, and that's part of the reason why I think we see the Zhong Kui in response to the Ravana. He wants to make sure that he has a way to disengage just in case no one else can back him up, and Aror also recognizes that he might have been in trouble, immediately backs off here, but now Cyclone could end up getting pulled into this life of the party.
But he manages to get out of there, beads at the last moment to avoid getting hit by the stun. The sun's come down as well, but Aror actually pushes back in, gets healed, but Sonic Boom catches him out. World Weaver for there for the follow-up. Made you look, not quite enough, so PolarBearMike makes it out. Scream and PandaCat come back just enough to stop the re-engage.
Cyno going to be able to avoid the 10-handed Shadow Fist. That doesn't mean that he'll be able to prevent Mike from getting that heal. Nice self-proc there for Mike. It means that Splyce are just going to have to walk away from this one.
Just barely not enough to find that kill, though, from both sides. CycloneSpin timing the beads well to avoid the stun from life of the party. Cyno, he did have a good Sonic Boom, but Major Look wasn't enough, and he couldn't keep going. Very, very close between these two teams on that left-hand side.
Cyclone probably wished that he still had that Spirit Arrow, though. Used it to try and pin Mike underneath the tower from that initial dive. But then PandaCat actually dive bombs into the T1 tower shortly after it just launched.
Wasn't able to quite find that kill, but I like how quick they were. CycloneSpin, the second Sonic Boom landed, dropped down the World Weaver to try and keep that CC chain going on PolarBearMike. They've got this trust. They have the communication clearly there for Splyce. And as long as that keeps developing, this team will continue to be scary. But one more time, Cyno going with the same build, Golden Blade and Hasten Katana. I wonder if he will elect to avoid boots or if he'll even think about picking up a brawlers this game. Be very curious about how it is that he wants to try and play it. I don't know how well that would work for him in his kit. Maybe even a Toxic Blade. We'll see where he chooses to go.
Well, last time he went for the Rage as that third item slot pickup and followed that up with a Midgardian and Frostbound. But since Baskin is on a Soul and not a double physical hunter composition for eUnited, then things might go a little bit differently here. And PandaCat already down to about 40% HP thanks to that World Weaver from Cyclone.
Sonic Boom from Cyno does hit. Made you look as good damage as well, but he can't keep the fight going. PolarBearMike's low. They land the stun onto Aror. He's trapped to the Suns. The Coffin pulls him in, but the dash a little bit better, and Divios pushes back everyone with the big ultimate coming out, sending them to their watery grave, but it's Screammmmm who blinks back in. They've got the lockdown on Aror, and nowhere for him to go. Ravana finds one more.
Aror came back in expecting there to be more of a brawl happening for Splyce, but they were more interested in disengaging. Benji's got everybody topped up, pretty much full health here outside of PBM, who he's working on next. Mystic rush forward, though, from Screammmmm, and the Shadow-Ended Fist is going to be able to keep moswal pinned in place.
But moswal still has the ultimate. CycloneSpin finds PolarBearMike. Cyno makes him look and gets the in-hand onto PandaCat. Now he wants Screammmmm. Double kill coming out for Cyno. Aegis has to keep him alive. Benji does find Divios, but CycloneSpin returns the favor. 4 for 1, as Splyce still has everybody here. In fact, CycloneSpin might be able to lock down Benji.
A little bit of regret there from Benji, walking straight into the weave setup for Cyclone. So that's bonus Spirit Arrow damage essentially onto Benji, which is why we see this Aphrodite so incredibly low. Splyce might have an opportunity though to pull this Gold Fury, and Benji went all the way back down to his Harpies. I don't think he'll be able to stop this in time.
He's definitely going to try and make it here, but will he be able to out-secure is the question and keep his life on the back end. The Doves are in, but not enough. Splyce confirmed the Gold Fury and look for the retreat. But Taco, I mean, what happened in that team fight? It looked at the beginning good for eUnited. They were able to catch out Aror.
The turn and burn power from moswal goes into the ultimate, drops the Aegis, and is just trying to stay alive for as long as possible. That gave enough time for Cyno to come back in, and the Golden Bow proc actually did come up pretty clutch there for Cyno, because it splashed the damage over onto Screammmmm as well. So Screammmmm, Benji couldn't heal everybody at once. It's only a single target heal.
Right.
So he was working on Mike, and it just fell short.
It just was not enough to keep them topped off. And I think you're right. Moswal's presence in that fight was huge. Screammmmm able to find his way to the back line as well. Or rather, Cyno, I mean, able to get to the back line of that Mercury. That was huge for them to be able to find a couple in-hands to round those last few kills out. But what a good fight from Splyce. I mean, they are starting to impress more and more with the way they're able to answer back up against a top team like eUnited.
I think we're about to see Cyno with a Poison Star as opposed to the Rage. They're both 2,400 gold, except Cyno's going to be able to have that 15% slow and the 15% reduction of the damage output from eUnited, which could be pretty important considering that Baskin and PandaCat are the primary sources right now for damage. I would say. Screammmmm does provide a little bit, but Screammmmm is mostly there to bring a member down to half health. It's up to Baskin and PandaCat to finish them off.
Right, he's trying to get them in that kill threshold for his team. This is interesting, though. I thought Cyno would adjust the build. As Holt that thought, PandaCat finds a great ricochet to bring Cyno low, and that is more than enough to keep him alive. Aror was right there on the back end, so they won't be able to lock him down. But to go back to Cyno, I thought he was going to change up the build because of how much sustain there was. Maybe he would have to try and find some kind of anti-heal option to deal with Benji and PolarBearMike in this one, but he's changing the build up to try and get this crit online a little bit earlier, and as you said, to try and slow down Baskin and PandaCat when he can find them in the back line.
The good news for Cyno is that he might not have to prioritize the anti-heal like you were mentioning, simply because Neith and Zhong can both pick up a Brawler's Beatstick and the Divine Ruin if Splyce still don't feel comfortable with just the Brawlers early on. And that should be enough anti-heal. It's also easily applicable. That's the main thing.
They can both do it pretty easy, yeah. As moswal's in trouble, he drops the ultimate. Aegis to immune the damage. Great patience from PolarBearMike to make sure the stun damage hits after Aegis ticks, and a nice kill comes out from Benji.
There won't be any response from Splyce here. This is the loss of their T1 tower in solo, and very likely the blue buff shortly after. Divios and Aror are in the area, but they're just going to have to sit and watch as that blue buff gets taken down by Screammmmm.
Screammmmm overhead kicks, but still gets hit by the root at the tail end, but it doesn't end up mattering much. They can't follow up. Cyno forces down the tier 1 in mid. The collapse might be on. No, it's just PandaCat. This is a fight Cyno would take, but the rest of eUnited are now on their way, and he certainly does have to retreat. But eUnited can only find the Tier 1 in the life of moswal. Now they come back to the Pyromancer to try and add an objective.
Because Cyno started heading towards the red buff area, that made it all too easy for eUnited to just rush down this Pyromancer. Cyno's still charging the Sonic Boom, but there's no one that can help him out. He's still going to go into Baskin, however, and Baskin, with those purification beads, will be able to create enough space to avoid the Meiji look.
That is good, though. I think Cyno is happy to trade the ultimate there to get the beads away from Baskin and make him slightly more vulnerable. Now, Soul has a ton of tools, right? That his Aphrodite in the Aegis is still certainly going to make Baskin safe. But just to make it a little bit easier now for Cyno, if they can catch him out.
And there's the completion for moswal and Cyclone, Divine and the Brawlers, just in case. So for good measure, Splyce definitely trying to prioritize that anti-heal early on. And it is a little bit necessary because it's better to be safe than sorry. Why risk letting eUnited sustain become an actual problem that you then have to try and counterbuild later on for, when you can just try and tackle it head on at the start?
Yeah, I don't think this is overkill at all. I wouldn't even be mad if we still see another Pestilence. I mean, Aphrodite and Baron is a good. That's a lot of healing, and Benji and Aphrodite can kind of drop the doves and kiss in the middle and try and get some healing off on 2. She's got a chance to be a real nuisance, so definitely slow it down as the root doesn't come out quite in time to stop that dive bomb from PandaCat. He can safely reposition. No, he might have used beads to make sure he made it out. They're already down.
He did use the purification beads prior to that cripple field being deployed there from Aror. And PandaCat is probably not too happy he ended up losing his beads because he might end up needing them later on. It's not like the Honor. Last game he could at least try and pillar off the Mercury ultimate so the Sonic Boom wouldn't automatically connect, but on the Ho Yi, not even a CC immune ultimate to try and save his life.
Aror drops the cripple field one more time, but he shrugs off the damage. Looks for the Multi-Man root, but can't find it there. Gold Fury not being pulled just yet, but now Baskin takes a look at it, trying to make sure he's got that heat fully stacked right on up and ready to roll. Can Splyce move in and contest? Not just yet. They're going to see if eUnited commit a little bit harder.
Scream's going to get the better end of Cyno for now with some good poke damage onto the Mercury. But eUnited, they do not look very comfortable with trying to pull this Gold Fury. They want the fight more than anything else.
Divios gets locked down. He's half HP, well below it. Forced into the ultimate, and PandaCat punishes the turtle. But Scream overcommits as well. CycloneSpin answers back. It's 1-for-1. But Benji's keeping his team topped off. So is PolarBearMike. The sustain coming through. They've got the Gold Fury now. Very low, but Sonic Boom hits 3. And PandaCat doesn't have an option. Aegis keeps him alive, and Baskin turns it around and burns Cyno.
Baskin just destroyed Cyno in a second. All of that heat passive being stacked up off of the Gold Fury just made those in-hands too much for Cyno to handle. PandaCat no longer has either of his actives, but with CycloneSpin here to play defense, I don't think that eUnited can actually take down this Gold Fury.
Maybe, but now this Aphrodite heal is getting truly obnoxious as she keeps everybody topped off. moswal's here, so is CycloneSpin, so is Aror, but there's no ultimates on the side of Splyce to try and fight this one and slow them down. It's just going to be their base abilities as Benji, PandaCat move off the Gold Fury to zone them away. It's at half HP, but Divios comes in on the backside, drops the ultimate to keep everybody busy, but the rest of Splyce aren't quite close enough. There's the blink, and now moswal joins the fray.
But all that Splyce wanted to do was cause eUnited to separate. moswal could potentially end up being the first one to fall here, and Baskin with another exchange onto Aror. CycloneSpin due to fall as well to the Prana onslaught from Scream. And what looked like a promising chase down for Splyce has now been turned around entirely.
They safely forced them off with Divios' positioning, but I don't know that they needed to commit further on the back end. But, and I do say but here, Taco, I know that they gave up those kills, but eUnited don't feel comfortable going for gold. They no longer have PandaCat. They drop it off. Even though they lost those deaths, I mean, that might be worth because they didn't get gold.
For now.
For the moment.
I agree for right now, but this is what I was waiting for, is eUnited to just look to repool this with only 2 members. That's all it really takes. If Benji is allowed to just heal Scream, then Baskin's assistance isn't even needed, but Baskin will show up just for good measure.
Yeah, now this creates a bit of a problem for Splyce. Gold Fury goes down for eUnited, and that's going to add some gold to their coffers. Remember, this is still not the end of the world. They're up about 1,400 gold. So a nice lead, but certainly not anything that Splyce can't fight into. It's not really going to tremendously impact these fights. eUnited just starting to build.
Check it out, though. With speaking of builds, CycloneSpin looks like he's opting for the Heartseeker as his next item of choice. And I actually like this for the Neith. She's probably the best hunter for a Heartseeker to be procced, because with the slight shifts so that it wouldn't be absurd for hunters in its original state, Heartseeker now, you need the 5 auto attacks for you get the bonus damage off of your next ability. And Neith, since you don't typically want to be using those in-hands all the time, you can easily stack up the Heartseeker proc and make that Spirit Arrow really smack.
We'll see if CycloneSpin can get the most out of it. But how is Cyno still ahead of Scream at this point? He's been farming very efficiently. Deathbringer finished to go along with that Poison Star as well. So you definitely don't want to be a carry getting hit by a few of those basic attacks from Cyno. He will certainly cause some problems as Fire Giant being considered here now by eUnited.
Scream trying to juke out Splyce, but check out where Cyno is. He's all the way on the opposite side of the map. He's not going to be here to try and help contest. Divios is going to be the first one to jump into the pile, and he's just trying to make eUnited disengage.
Has to use the ultimate to get away. Supernova chases him out, but Divios still alive for now. PandaCat dive bombs in, but they can't quite finish him, but this is good. Fire Giant's still not confirmed, and Cyno's able to find the tier 2 on the left-hand side. Baskin can't tank this by himself. A nice win, and now a chance for a Sonic Boom to potentially line up if Cyno gets here in time. But Fire Giant very low. It's only Divios nearby. They stun him. eUnited grab the FG, but can they disengage?
Cyclone just was not healthy enough to do anything further. They have no answer right now to Benji, but it could be their savior. Cyno on the backside. He's wrapping around looking for the Sonic Boom.
But he doesn't have it charged up anymore. He's just going to start punching people in the face. He finds a big crit. Major Look comes out as well. Now Sonic Boom is charging through, but it's PandaCat who hits home. Moswal makes him pay for it on the back end. 1-for-1 solo for Hunter.
But now Scream is wrapped around the backside from Moswal. A good stun is going to buy him a little bit of time, but PolarBearMike makes sure to bring him down even sooner. And Cyno will manage to escape here. So far, it's only PandaCat that won't have that Fire Giant around his waist. And eUnited, as long as they are all cluttered up, it is too much sustain for Splyce to try and bring them down.
Yeah, and this one has Benji's name written all over it in big neon letters, man. This Aphrodite is an absolute nightmare for them to deal with in the fights. And it's not just the heals, but it's the Undying Love and the back off in particular that are such tremendous problems. The Undying Love to give them that immunity, the back off to create some space. It is very difficult for this Mercury to stick on anybody in the back line.
This was just such a smart adjustment from eUnited in the drafting. The fact that they were able to not only get the Aphrodite for Benji, but also give it to him in a matchup where Divios can't effectively punish him for going such a squishy mage.
That's right. As well as Cyno's been ahead of Scream all game long, Benji has been ahead of Divios throughout the entirety of this laning phase so far. And I was asking you earlier, Taco, would eUnited sort of feel the loss of a Guardian or a true warrior here in this matchup? And so far, they absolutely have not. When they group up and they fight as 5, there's really no way for Splyce to stick onto these carries. At least it doesn't look like it so far. They've been having some trouble isolating Baskin and PandaCat, and in large part, it's thanks to Benji and PBM.
And even if Splyce wanted to try and tackle the root of the problem, which is essentially Benji at this point, it's just it feels like you're pulling teeth when you're trying to jump onto Benji. If it's not the peel or the burst damage from Scream, Baskin, and PandaCat that you have to worry about, it's PolarBearMike utilizing that life of the party to keep him suppressed.
PandaCat actually gets hit by the ultimate because Cyno had Sonic Boom lined up. They do force out the Undying Love, a strong tool forced out early on the engagement. Aror has the cripple field and a 3-man stun, but it's not enough. It's Cyno who gets pulled into the life of the party, and Baskin finds him, brings him down. Now PolarBearMike can continue to surge forward, but moswal still has his ultimate if he can find a way in.
Splyce have just got to keep running. If they're able to disengage from this, it won't be the worst case scenario. Aror going to blink forward and avoid the blink from Scream initiation. Backflip out of Cyclone won't be able to close enough distance though because the Mystic rush to follow suit.
That was great. They find Cyno, punish him, and now Splyce have absolutely got to give up this tier 2 tower on the left-hand side. In fact, with 5 members here, and FG on everyone but PandaCat, eUnited have a chance to force down this left side. Phoenix 2, Splyce really can't afford to make defense. moswal still hasn't found a chance to drop down his ultimate either. Divios gets locked down. He's very low. Phoenix destroyed, and now Divios has to run.
That Phoenix is melting, by the way, and moswal could very well be
There's
next.
the ultimate.
Barely sitting above 10% health, and PolarBearMike in no time at all managed to bring down the Zhong Queen. It's not over just yet. Divios still trying to create some more space in the back line, but Baskin's taking care of CycloneSpin all the while.
They just don't have very much damage. Aror and Divios are nice. Now Cyno's here. Major look gonna hit, but look at these autos from Baskin. There's just no way with that hasten ring. You can't keep up with him.
It was like a submachine gun. He's just shooting, and every single auto attack is connecting onto Cyno.
Dink, 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 dink. No way for Cyno to try and keep up. PolarBearMike now up onto the coffin, pulls Divios back in. PolarBearMike not going to be on the mark for the Consigned Spear. It's a great stun from Aror. Allows the repositioning. But this is a win all day long for eUnited on this left-hand side. Phoenix, Tier 2 tower, Tier 1 tower, all come down, and they find several picks on the back end as well. This is the kind of adjustment you can expect from the #1 team in North America like eUnited.
And that began with Splyce trying to take the initiative there and look for a strong pick onto PandaCat.
Right.
Cyno with the Sonic Boom charge, playing off the setup from CycloneSpin's World Weaver. It's just that eUnited were a lot more grouped up than what Splyce originally envisioned, I think, because the way that eUnited just came flying out from the jungle, that was when Splyce knew they were in hot water and immediately tried to disengage. But Aror was just absorbing blow after blow after blow until eventually he couldn't absorb anything any longer. He just had to get out of there, and Cyno gets caught up, wrapping back into the dual lane to try and help peel for his teammates. It was a good idea, but the risk versus reward for Splyce was also a steep price to pay.
That's right. They just weren't able to quite fully execute on it, and that's one more problem for this eUnited squad, is that at this point, it's very difficult to all-in any one of them. They're so strong. In fact, the Maggot's cloak being stripped from Aror by Benji, and now they're going to take a look at the Fire Giant. Cyno has Sonic Boom charging. He has Aussie as well for some lifesteal as he finds Baskin in the back end. Major look as well. But he gets caught in the life of the party and pulled back in. But PandaCat needs some help. There's no one there. Aror and moswal remove him. And now Scream's low on the right-hand side as well. But a big supernova knocks up everyone.
But they couldn't find Cyclone. That's who Scream was trying to commit to in the first place. Now Divios trying to break the chain, though, but Scream's still barely hanging in there because of the heals from Benji.
Overhead kick gets him out as well. Another very strong tool to allow him to reposition. They get the kiss on the moswal, and now he's slowed. Consigned Spirits is there. PolarBearMike blows him up, and nowhere for him to run. Now Cyno, he looked for the re-engage, but he gets deleted too. Egg is just not enough. Scream even laughing at him. eUnited 2 for 1. Sends Splyce back to base.
Cyno took the long way around. He was trying to get behind Scream to look for the major look that would end up finishing off that kill. But Benji refusing to allow any more deaths to happen. And PandaCat, for what it's worth, his sacrifice was not in vain.
Absolutely not. It took so much for them to be able to take down PandaCat on the back end of that fight that even though they got him, it was too much of a commitment. And we talked about how there's not much control for this eUnited team. But I don't know how much that matters if it's this big ball where it's all like this AoE damage. The ultimate from Baskin, the ultimate from PandaCat, Benji's back off. They have so many tools to win when it's a big clump.
It's the constant re-aggressing from eUnited on top of the fact that you don't really need a lot of peel when you just have so much sustain. And the heals are just so problematic for Splyce at this stage. Cyno has had multiple major looks that just crit and spread, but yet it doesn't feel like anybody from eUnited is ever falling low enough.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's doing enough damage trying to come out from Cyno. And right now they're having a hard time. eUnited looking strong in their response to that Game 1 loss. But they have not closed it out just yet. As they have a brief pause, we should be ready to get right back into the action and see how eUnited make their push with the Fire Giant. Remember, they already grabbed the left side Phoenix Taco. They might go back for that weekend.
That's also the worst part about it, Finch. For all that effort that Splyce spent trying to bring down PandaCat, and yet he still ends up with the Fire Giant.
That's true.
Because eUnited were able to patiently wait it out until their Hunter was alive again.
That's got to be frustrating, and PandaCat now will be doing even more damage as he moves in on these structures. Tier 2 tower falls. To be honest, PandaCat's not even the primary guy. I think it really is Baskin when it comes to shredding these objectives, man. When he has that heat stacked and all this attack speed, he is a nightmare.
Splyce keep investing so much into PandaCat because he's the one originally linked to Benji, but they might need to start turning their attention more towards Baskin. Benji's off the table because that Aphrodite's just never going to die unless everyone else from eUnited is dead first.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to take him down as Phoenix in mid is starting to get chunked. Baskin finds some good shots. Aror blinks in. That forced everyone back. Sonic Boom on the Scream on the left-hand side. Curiously, they don't find him there. And now PolarBearMike's on the coffin trying to pull in Aror. He settles for Divios instead. Supernova there as well. Divios just barely out, but Scream re-engages with the Mystic Rush. It's not enough for the kill, but it nets them a Phoenix.
Doesn't even matter though. Scream goes from 10% to full health in an instant. moswal gonna end up blinking forward and unleashing the ghost, trying to find whatever he may. But Baskin, despite being so incredibly low, is so protected from the rest of eUnited.
Divios just barely makes it back out from the damage from PandaCat. Scream is low, sure, but he links back up with Benji, heals up, and now they'll take down the left side Phoenix. Only 4 members of Splyce are alive right now to try and drive eUnited back out of their base. And so far, it's just barely enough. They couldn't all the way take down this left side Phoenix, but it is hanging on by a thread.
There's just no answer to the Aphrodite from
None.
Benji. He has spent this entire game with non-stop heals to sustain, and now with PolarBearMike helping to contribute to the healing train, there's no way that Divios can feel comfortable charging forward here.
Yeah, there's Undying Love to get PolarBearMike out of all the trouble. PandaCat is able to find one more kill, this time onto Cyno. 16,000 healing coming out. An absurd number as Baskin finds CycloneSpin. They force them back to the fountain. eUnited are still too strong and too tanky here at this point to worry about falling into any trouble. They're going to sustain up a little bit more, and they can start looking for the Titan to answer back against Splyce.
Baskin and Scream not that interested in playing with their food. They'd rather close this one out just to be safe. Nope, instead, all of eUnited, they want this deicide more than anything else, but finding Aror is just going to take a little bit too long, and the Titan's going to end up going down first.
eUnited trying to let Splyce know it ain't going to be that easy if you want to take down the top dog. They got that spot for a reason, answering back quite handily in Game 2. Just as strong as I think Splyce looked in Game 1, eUnited looked here. What an impressive response to the pressure Splyce had in Game 1.
It just took off. Around the 13-14 minute mark,
yeah.
This game was just busted wide open by eUnited, and every single chance that Splyce took to try and find picks onto the backline carries were just met with all of that healing from Benji,
yeah.
from PolarBearMike. It was just way too much.
Well, who is the MVP? For my money, it's Benji.
Benji.
Every direction I can think of. That Aphrodite, man, there was no way that they could try and slow that one down.
If anybody except for Benji gets voted, then chat is trolling.
It should be
100%
for Benji, right? 1-0-0.
There's no questions involved. Like, it's Benji.
Well, let's get it back over to the desk then and get their analysis on Game 2.
Consider me trolling, because I would vote for Baskin. My man was doing 1,000,000 damage on the Soul. Benji was doing a lot. Don't get me wrong. I also saw him let a couple people die with ultimate up at least once. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what chat decides. All I know is that eUnited ends up taking that game. The anti-heal for Splyce just was not enough. No cursed onk.
That's right. They did have a Pestilence for Divios. The Brawler's Beast take out of CycloneSpin, even Divine Ruin from moswal, but maybe the horrific emblem from Aror could have been invested into the cursed onk. There wasn't
med.
Yeah, there wasn't that much attack speed on the side of eUnited. Like, sure, you have Soul, Hou-Yi, but like you don't have to worry about a Fafnir with that. So I kind of wish we saw the cursed onk instead.
43,000 damage for Baskin. How are you saying that I'm trolling? He did that much. I mean, it was close. I'm sure in chat. I actually don't know if it was close or not. But Benji does end up winning MVP in this game. And chat sees weird pick, chat votes weird pick. That's the way this goes.
No, it's not. And Benji, honestly, I think got reminded that healers were pretty good in the Soul lane after that first game where Divios was playing the Chang'e and Aphrodite locked in a good spot where I think it was already locked in and loaded what Divios was going to play. Didn't have to worry about the outwash necessarily the same way that Benji would pick outwash into an Aphrodite.
Will say Benji did have a sick ultimate on that very final siege, left side Phoenix. Divios did a really good job of using Watery Grave to put PBM behind him and then start pushing him towards the team. Benji threads the needle with the kiss and then ults PBM, so it was a good play. I'm not trying to hate, I'm just saying Baskin did 43k damage.